Honda's CB500F is the quintessential, unintimidating, capable vanilla motorcycle. It isn't particularly fast and it doesn't really excel on the highways. But like a good wife, the worst thing about the Honda CB500F is that it won't give you any reason to leave it for something more exciting. The 500F exists in a class of motorcycles called premium mediocre, bikes which are just meh enough that you look forward to upgrading, but also damn good enough you won't ever actually need to upgrade. So without further ado, here are 5 reasons to buy and 5 reasons not to buy the Honda CB500F. First reason to buy this bike, feels like you're riding a toy. The 500F is very beginner friendly, it's very forgiving, and it's easy to ride. The seat height is 31 inches and it cuts in narrow at the front, which helps shorter riders get their feet to touch the ground. A short 55.5-inch wheelbase and narrower than Super Sport tires, along with a really wide handlebar, a near 50-50 weight bias, it all comes together to make it so easy to handle, like a beginner bike or a groupie should be. First reason not to buy, same thing, it feels like riding a toy. The 500F just doesn't give that big motorcycle feeling that some riders want at highway speeds or just need for their all-around comfort. Around town, the less aggressive ergonomics, more on that later, nimble and just chill nature of the 500F are nice to have, but riders getting close to and over around 6 feet and maybe 200 pounds, they're gonna feel a little bit cramped on this thing. More than that though, most advanced riders are gonna feel like this sense that the brakes, suspension, transmission, they all feel very cheap, we'll call it economy tiered, which makes sense because this bike is built to a price point. But that's kind of good news because the second reason to buy this bike is it's actually fairly affordable and I think fairly priced. It's around $6,700 US, around $7,700 Canadian. I feel like this bike is well priced and depending on where you live, when you're done with it, they can maintain their value pretty well if they aren't too banged up. Naturally, because they're a pretty common motorcycle, you may be able to scoop one up on the used market without too much concern, and that would probably be my recommendation if you're just starting to dip your toes into motorcycling. But the second reason not to buy this thing is it's probably not your forever motorcycle. So if you aren't just dipping your toes in motorcycling, if you do have a lot of experience, the 500F might not be the motorcycle for you to buy brand new because it might still leave you wanting a little bit more in some areas. I would consider it a beginner to intermediate motorcycle. So if you find yourself already having spent several years on a 250 or 300cc, while you may appreciate the upgrade initially, you may still find yourself wanting more bike. And you might not necessarily want more power, but the fact is bigger bikes tend to come with better, higher caliber, more premium components that just feel good when you're riding. The brakes, suspension, transmission on the CB500F, they all feel fine if the only other motorcycle you've ridden is a CBR250. But if you have a lot of experience on more expensive higher end motorcycles, the cost-effective feeling kind of reveals itself on this bike. It isn't all bad though, and the third reason to buy this thing is I think it's probably one of the most well-rounded out of the triplets. Honda has 3 motorcycles using the same motor in the CB500 family. There's the F and its siblings, the CB500X, which is aimed at the more adventure use kind of user. The CBR500R, aimed at people who think perception is reality, and if I just have a bike that looks fast, maybe people won't know any better. I'm so smart, I've fooled everyone. Of the 3, the 500F just seems the most reasonable. Most riders in this segment are just looking to get started motorcycling and enjoy themselves. They aren't looking to cross the Sahara or win a race in Sepang. The 500F is a terrific does-it-all 500, and there's enough bike there to give you several years of enjoyment out of it. But one shortcoming, which I found kind of annoying after a while, was the third reason not to buy, which is you feel like you never stop shifting this thing. The CB500F comes with a 6-speed transmission, which is great, I love that. But it's geared really short, so this can be a good thing or a bad thing. When I had one, my commute was a mix of first residential zones, then major city streets, and then a short highway jump, and I felt like no matter where I was constantly shifting gears on this motorcycle. The short shifting is beneficial to new motorcyclists, and you can offset some of the need for shifting by just starting from a stop in second gear rather than using first gear, but it's still annoying. At the time when I had it, I had also just gotten a Ducati Monster 620, and even though the Monster was 10 years older than the CB500F, the Monster's gear ratios were so much better geared for an experienced or intermediate level motorcyclist, whereas the CB500F is really geared to be extremely beginner friendly. Of course, the bright side is you can change the gear ratio by changing the sprockets, and many people in the CB500F community have already been doing this for years, so if that's something that might interest you, there's lots of information already out there. Feel free to take a look after you're done watching. And if it seems like I might be picking at details here, I kind of am because overall I do like this bike. The fourth reason to buy, it keeps getting better with time, and 2022 specifically saw a bunch of upgrades Earlier generations will still get a lot of kick-ass stuff, don't get me wrong, like a slipper clutch for easy shifting, 70 to 80 miles per gallon for an almost 300-mile range out of the 17-liter tank. But if you're thinking about buying new, the 2022 model just brings even more to the table. Standard upgrades for 2022 include suspension, which seems to come from the CB650, but there's a little side note here. In some markets, they're saying it's fully adjustable suspension. Other markets are saying that's not the case. So it's best to have a look at what CB500F is being offered where you live. 2022 also saw the addition of a second disc brake up front, which is definitely always nice to have, and it's paired with 4-piston calipers. Although, from what I've read, reviewers on the brake feel are still mixed opinions on this one, and I personally have not tried a 2022 model myself, so I can't help you much there. Sorry, guys. You also get a new LED headlight for 2022 because apparently Japanese manufacturers want all of their motorcycles to look the same. Whatever. Finally, in 2022, you get some cool stuff like a lighter swing arm and lighter wheels, which bring the weight down and help improve balance ever so slightly on this motorcycle. Though I gotta be totally honest, it never felt either heavy or unbalanced when I owned this bike, and at the time I only weighed like 140 pounds back then. Never felt like the weight was off on this. Honda also brags about making the radiator lighter, but the rad is so tiny and I'm questioning how much it really changed anything and why every single review on the internet insists on bringing up Honda made the rad lighter. Like, so what? It doesn't change anything. I feel like this is just Honda tooting their own horn and other reviewers just trying to be like, oh, Honda's so great and kiss ass. I don't think changing the rad is worth mentioning, but I don't know. Whatever. Maybe Honda took 55 pounds off the rad, but probably not. Here's the thing though. Reason number 4 not to buy, there's still a lot that you don't get included. Honda makes factory top case, heated grips, windscreens for this bike, but much like getting a second rear view mirror on a 70s Honda car, you're gonna have to pay extra for that stuff. As mentioned, in some markets you will get preload adjustable front forks, but in others, you won't. ABS is starting to become less of an option and more of a standard feature across most markets, so look at what's being offered where you live to figure out if you have it or not. Either way, what I will say is I feel like if you're not gonna be, stopping too hooliganishly on this bike, I wouldn't worry about it, but if you are, braided brake lines, probably a worthwhile upgrade. Not something offered from factory. I would make that upgrade. Again though, I do really like the 500F, and the fifth reason to buy, in my opinion, it makes respectable power if you push it. When properly provoked, the Honda CB500F can make decent power. It pushes out 47 horsepower, which is about on par with the 805cc Suzuki Boulevard that I reviewed earlier this season. It can keep up just fine on the highway, but fifth reason not to buy, it's not a bike for speed demons. If you're trying to go fast and overtake people at interstate speeds, it may start to feel a bit buzzy over 6,500 RPMs, and that's exactly where this bike makes its peak horsepower. Luckily, for just comfortable highway cruising, you do have a 6th gear available to you, and that's what the CB500F is really much better at. Just comfortable highway cruising, especially with the lack of fairing and windscreen from the factory. This is a motorcycle that can keep up with enough roll-on power left at interstate speeds to get you out of the way of trouble, but without the kind of power that could get you into trouble, and that's a good thing or a bad thing depending on which side of the danger zone you like to play in. Final thoughts on this machine. Do I need a Honda CB500F in my life? No. But do I want a Honda CB500F in my life? No. Okay, well, would I recommend one? Heck yes, 100 times over. The 500F is a great entry into motorcycling or a great second bike for someone who started on something smaller, like a scooter or a CBR125R, but maybe you don't necessarily want to go up to a full-size motorcycle for any number of reasons that are totally, completely valid, and I totally get you. The 500F does everything it needs to do. It has a bulletproof motor. I have a friend who put over 100,000 kilometers on this motor. His name is Wobblycat. You should check him out on Instagram. It is so much more than just an adequate bike. It's a great entry to intermediate level all-rounder. It'll be an excellent first or second bike for someone. It's something that you can own for a few years without it feeling like it's that favorite pair of jeans that you somehow managed to outgrow. Hey, yeah, COVID gains, anybody? My hand's up. Sure, you can make an upgrade to suspension, brake lines, gear ratios, but most riders won't go beyond adding a windscreen, a tank bag for your necessities, and a cheap slip-on exhaust. And that's not a knock. My CB500F came with a Kaufman exhaust, which was pretty janky, but it sure sounded a lot better than stock. If you've already been riding for a few years though, and you're really into motorcycling, I have a feeling you will want to move up to one of the better spec motorcycles that are already on the market. The Twin can get a little bit buzzy at fast interstate speeds. It's a little low on torque at around 30-something foot-pounds, and you really need to know when and how to shift to get the most performance out of this bike. You'll also need to change the gearing if you live in a busy city, or you're going to constantly feel like you're just non-stop shifting this thing. But that doesn't mean the 500F is a bad motorcycle by any means. And if a friend of mine wanted to get into motorcycling, I would not hesitate to recommend it to this person. It's a Honda. It's well designed, it's well thought out, it's well built, it'll last you forever. This bike is so good, it'll make you fall in love with motorcycling, meaning the more you ride it, the more likely you'll be to want to move on to something else. And that means that this bike has done its job. It's hard to find faults with this motorcycle for what it is. But like I said at the start, the worst thing about the 500F is that it won't give you any reason to leave it. And that's okay. I'm Adrian from eMotorcycle. I make videos aimed at helping motorcyclists. Please like this video to help it reach more people, and please hit subscribe to see more videos like this one. My previous video was on how to change the oil and filter based on Honda's factory service manual on this motorcycle, so be sure to check that out if you're interested. Thanks for watching, ride safe, but have fun.